right. I'm going to go to Dimitri. When are we getting back to normal, Dimitri?
Let me get my calendar out. Yeah. I think I'm on the camp of, I agree with Toby in terms of, this feels a little different. It feels like it could be a multi-year thing or maybe a new normal kind of situation. I was thinking of, all these changes in behavior, that we've seen. And there were a couple companies, consumer focused companies, that reported earnings this week. And one example that kind of hits on this point a little bit is General Mills. It's the cereal giant, and they reported earnings yesterday, and they're seeing this, persistent lift in snacks and eating and breakfast at home. That used to be a really big thing that the restaurants were targeting before the pandemic. No one was ever eating at home, I guess. But General Mills is noticing. So this was the quarter on top of last year's huge growth number. They grew again a little bit, this year in this quarter. And they're saying, what they're talking about is sort of what seems to be a persistent, what they think is just a kind of permanent lift in demand for, being around the house and eating around the house. At the same time, though, they also complained about that this is the highest number of job openings they've ever had in their industry, in manufacturing, and the supply chain is under this historic stress for that reason. So it's kind of one of those win-loss kind of situations. And the other company that talked about this a bit was Stitch Fix. The company that specializes in online apparel selling, and they had a good, interesting number. They talked about how before the pandemic, they estimated around 25% of the apparel industry sales happen online, and now that number is at 40%. So you think about that, you were talking about just numbers like that. That's massive. That's like a 10-year shift in 1 year. And they say, they believe that's a permanent shift. I mean, they don't think we're even taking a small step back, ever again. This is just the way people act now. And it's, in an environment like that, where we're just seeing, it's kind of interesting. Obviously nobody knows, but it looks like there's the pandemic kind of shook loose a bunch of different behavior changes that seem to be sticking around and could be for years. And so then the question I got to think about is like, how do these industries, get enough workers, for example, like restaurants and, delivery drivers for pizza, they're just in some cases they're going to have to change their incentive structure. They're going to have to pay more. And you see that in fast food restaurants and, places like that, and hospitality. It seems like they might have to think about some wholesale changes, how they attract and keep employees.